Hello, Horror Fanatics. I'm Frank.
And I'm Jen, and we welcome you to our weekly podcast.
Oh, the horror. Thank you for joining us as we dive deep into all things horror, supernatural, scary, and downright creepy.
If you like what you hear, you can rate, you can review, you can subscribe or follow to add us to your regular rotation of podcasts.
You can also submit any ideas, comments, and suggestions to our email address at oth@seriouslydecent.com. You can go to our website at ohthehorrorpodcast.com, catch our back catalog of 4 seasons, get caught up on season 5. You can go to our YouTube channel if you want to do it that way. Connect to your favorite podcast platforms. You can do all that good stuff through there. You can connect to our Facebook group if you're new.
Yeah.
Check the daily shares that Jen cranks out through there.
Except when I was on vacation.
Yeah, just got back.
Yeah. Your girl's tired.
Yeah.
Tired.
I'm a little tired and sleepy.
I sleepies.
Yeah, that's after your nap.
Yeah.
It's so big props to the Corning Glass Museum.
I'm so disappointed because their gift shop is huge. It technically could be a store in its own right. It could actually technically be a museum in its own right.
Yeah.
It's certainly bigger than the Ouija board museum in Salem.
That's small.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of...
Because you guys didn't get to see the actual museum.
We didn't. Yeah, turns out we didn't. But we did get to do a couple projects. We got to do 2 glass projects.
The workshops.
Yeah. We did 2 actually really different workshops.
Yeah.
We did the sandblasting, which etches the outer layer of the glass. And then we actually sculpted the molten glass. And I didn't know we would actually be
doing that,
sculpting it. And
so that's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, like we had to roll it out to keep it. Essentially, you're trying to keep it as
pliable,
as even as possible.
Yeah.
And then they add more glass onto it. You're actually building a base for them to put the glass on so that you can build the petals and the stem of the flower. So the first step is to build the base. So we do that. And then they flatten it so that you've got this, instead of a long thing of glass, it's a short, fat one, which actually makes it a whole lot easier to pull your petals out. And then they build the flower from there. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're actually doing this.
Yeah.
And
right. Because, I mean, you see it on TV all the time.
Yeah.
You know.
My sister and
But you've never done anything like this before, right?
No.
Yeah.
Never.
Would you recommend it to somebody?
100%.
Yeah.
We didn't actually blow glass, and the girls were kind of disappointed. And I was like, well, then I guess we got to come back so we can do that.
Yeah.
But for your first time, it's great. And shout out to the guy, Chris, who helped my mother, which, you know how my mother is, where she's like, her hobby is reading.
Yeah.
Period, the end, full stop. Well, Lindsay and I were done first. Mom had a very informative. He explained the temperature of the ovens. He explained how hot they have to get the molten glass.
Well, and he was on Blown Away, right?
I recognized him as in the Blown Away competition when they get to the end and it's the head-to-head.
Which those that don't know, there's a Blown Away competition on Max,
it's a blown glass,
right? Or
yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's exclusively on Max. I haven't seen it on anything. No, that one's not on Max. That one's on Netflix.
Okay.
The one on Max is the pottery.
That's right. Yeah.
Both good.
Yeah.
for completely different reasons.
But it's a blown glass
Yes.
reality competition show.
And at the end, in the head-to-head, the glass workers from Corning, from the museum, actually come and assist the two contestants who are competing to win.
And that's in New York in the United States. Corning Museum.
Correct. Yeah. And the winner not only gets the monetary prize, but they also get a residency at the museum.
Mm-hmm.
So I just happened to recognize him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was super informative. But my sister went first, and she was there the whole time Chris was walking Mom through it.
Yeah.
And I get done and I get over there, and she goes, Mom is actually really good at this. And I turn to my sister and I go, what if this is the one thing Mom gets into?
Right?
Where she's like,
That'd be awesome.
yeah, no, this is it. I blow glass now.
That'd be awesome.
It would be.
You know, that's how my mom was with painting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, she was crafty and she would like paint ceramics and stuff.
Yeah.
But to like hop on a canvas with oil painting and just like paint something on canvas or off a picture, but still have blank canvas and all that. And she took a class, and like the next thing you know, my mom's a painter.
Yeah.
And she's working on a painting every week, you know, or month. You know, she's working on something, quote unquote. Yeah, no, you never know how that pops up. It'd be great if it was interesting. She needs something like that.
Yeah.
You know, everybody
So,
does.
I liked that. I think
Doing it over again, how long would someone need to go to the Corning Glass Museum and get a good experience? Do you think it's 2 days or?
No, you could do it in a day.
Yeah.
And that's including
actually seeing the museum?
Yes.
Which you guys didn't.
Yes, you could do it in a day.
Okay.
We actually could have done it. Apparently, I'm the only one who has the ability to fast between the two of them. And they were like, apparently buying glass is super exhausting.
Yeah.
And requires a large sit-down lunch.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I have thoughts. I told them, I was like, I regret that we didn't just get lunch at the cafe.
Yeah.
And then even if we just did like a quick cursory
walk
through.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, shout out to our museum membership that got us in for free.
Yeah, you know, I think that's one of the like overlooked things in my life that I wish I did a long time ago that I could recommend to everyone that's listening to this, at least in the States. I don't know how it works with other countries.
Right.
You know, but in the United States, if you get a membership at your museum, a local museum, and it has a NARM reciprocal.
Yeah, you want the level where your membership is reciprocal with other
it's NARM,
museums.
It's called
NARM.
NARM. I don't know what the acronym is. It's like National Arts Reciprocal
Museum.
Something.
Yeah,
museum. But basically that means you can just go to another museum and you get in for free or a really good discount.
Right.
But like at the Fenimore Cooper, where we got ours, that was like $200 to be a member. And, you know, if you do the math on it, I mean, we go to the museum a lot.
We do.
So we get our money back pretty quick.
Well, unfortunately for us, our membership, like the Fenimore, is actually two different museums. It would be the same if you had, for example, Corning has another membership where, like, if you get your membership with Corning, it also works with Rockwell Museum.
Yeah.
It's literally a block away.
No, a lot of museums do that, and it's worth looking at it, you know. And especially if you're thinking about checking museums out, you know, I mean, the thing is you go to a museum, you're looking at like $10. you know?
Yeah.
And if you're a couple and you're going to a museum, that's $20 a round, you know? And I mean, you go 5-10 times, it pays for itself, you know, and you're supporting it, you know,
I
which
will
is,
say the Museum of Glass is kind of unlike any other museum we've gone to. It's it's amazing, the sculptures and the creations that people can create with molten
yeah.
glass.
Well, and here's the thing. It's considered a really good museum. You know,
It
I mean,
is.
that's, you know, it's not like your average neighborhood museum.
No.
That gets
Like they have a studio
some
shop.
donation stuff.
They
I
have
mean,
hot shops within the museum.
No,
They're doing
exactly.
live demonstrations.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know you could like go to a Ren fair and you can see glass blowing.
That's
and
different.
That's still incredible.
No,
I
it's
mean, that's
artisan
still,
level
yeah,
stuff, but
to
it's just a different
actually
tier.
To actually see what these people do is just it's
incredible.
It's crazy. And where we were in the studio when we were waiting to do our last project, our sandblasting, which I am most proud of my creation. I was super pleased.
So what'd you do?
I sandblasted a drinking glass, and essentially there's two ways you can do it. You essentially put on a piece of vinyl on the glass, and then when you hit it with the spray of sand, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
And then the sand takes off that top layer of glass. You can either do it where you do the vinyl around the whole glass and then you just cut out the area that you want etched, or you just put vinyl pieces onto the area that you don't want etched. So there's two ways to do it. At the museum, they only do the where you apply the vinyl and then the whole area gets etched.
It's easier that way.
It is. It doesn't take as much time. And they were very informative. They talk you through the whole thing. You're essentially just putting stickers on glass. And that's what took the longest, was putting the stickers on the glass.
Yeah, I believe
But, I mean, with that project, you make it there, you take it home. Anything that you do with the molten glass has to go in the annealer so that it slowly cools down to prevent shattering. And you either go back the next day and pick it up, or you have it shipped to you. And because the museum was an hour away from where we were actually staying, we had it shipped.
Yeah.
So I'll put pictures in the Facebook group of the things I made.
Definitely. No, I'm glad you had a good time.
I did.
I held the fort down.
Thank you.
I kept.
I appreciate that.
I kept the creative director and HR in check.
Yeah. They've had thoughts since I've gotten back, which I expected.
Not bad.
No.
They were good the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, Saturday I brought Dean
Everywhere.
literally everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so it was funny. We got home and he just like laid down. Oh, I'm pooped.
I'm so sleepy.
I'm so pooped.
I'm so sleepy, Dad.
It's a full day.
I can't do it anymore.
I can't. Watch whatever show you want. Do what you do. I'm done. I'm punching my card.
I can't.
Yeah. Nah, he was loving it.
His aunt would have loved to have done all the things on Saturday, but I didn't have it in me. I mean, the place we stayed had a hot tub, and we spent 2.5 hours in the hot tub.
Yeah.
At a clip.
Pretty much, if you're hopping in a hot tub, any kind of plans you had after that, like hot tubs are post-plan things.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Like you play a round of golf, then you hop in the hot tub. You go shopping all day, you hop in the hot tub. But if you're going to hop in the hot tub and hang out and then do stuff later, you just screwed your whole day up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? It's a post-plan event.
So she's like, what are we going to do? And it was going to be cold and rainy. And I was like, I do not want to be out in this. And I was like, well, I like this here couch. we could nap. I like that. I was like, we got a hot tub.
Your sister
right there.
Your sister was ready to do things, and her big failure is she went on this long weekend with two of the most indoorsy people that you could find. And she had the cards stacked against her. That's, if it's a nice day, you're outdoorsy.
Yeah.
But any kind of remote bad weather, you turn indoorsy on a heartbeat.
Well, where we were, I mean, we had rain for an hour, and almost immediately it switched to snow. And I was like, I don't want to mess around out here in snow.
Yeah, Doug.
I did have Doug.
Doug's good in the snow.
Doug's great in the snow.
For those that don't know, Doug is our vehicle. So, you know what? I forgot to tell you this. I came up with a name for a future dog.
Doug.
No.
Oh.
Gus.
Yeah.
I want to get one dog that has one
Gus.
golden retriever.
Gus.
If we're doing it two, one of them has to be named Gus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it feels right.
Well, then we'd have to pick another name from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I would think.
Really?
Yeah. Gus? August?
August?
That August kid?
Shame about that August kid.
Yeah.
Or what was the other guy's name in Grumpy Old Men? Because there was Gustafson.
Gustafson and...
he called him Putz all the time, but I just remember Putz.
Gustafson, you're doing it again.
We should do that. Gus and Putz. All right. It's not what we're here for.
We could do Gus and Max.
Gus and Max would do well, or just some crazy off the wall human name, but
Ronald.
Ronnie.
Yeah.
No, I can't do Ronnie anymore.
Yeah, it's hard.
After that stretch of Expedition Bigfoot and Ronnie on there.
Yeah.
I just can't do Ronnie.
Russ.
Russell?
Russ. The man, the myth,
Gus
the legend.
and Russell?
If anybody's going to find Bigfoot, it's going to be Russ.
Yeah, before we get into the episode, so we watched season 6 of Expedition Bigfoot, and that's a big show here.
Guys, do not sleep on this series. I know there's a lot of Bigfoot hunting shows, but I got to tell you,
it's the most compelling one.
It's the most compelling of all of them.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Give the first season a rip.
Yep.
And if you're like, yeah, that's not bad, that's the worst season they have.
Correct.
That's how I explain it to everybody. The first season is the worst season. So if you're like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then
buckle up.
Get ready, because it's just going to get crazy.
And keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times.
It builds.
It does.
And season 6, the latest one,
yes,
by far the best evidence, the most evidence, all that. But here's the thing. Don't just cruise right to 6. You need to go on that journey with them.
You
from
do.
Season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And you'll see throughout each season that where they get their best evidence and their most compelling evidence actually does come from Russ.
No, but it's also a collection of all those episodes. Like you can see them learning and adapting to the environment and all that. But yeah, Russ is he is incredible. And
if you want to know
relentless.
where I fit in this, I'm in the command center.
Yeah, you're
popping popcorn for Bryce.
Yeah.
Here you go, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I envy them. I really do. I would love to be out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it just it's so cool how they do it, how it's filmed.
Yes.
And the stuff that they get, they're actually really in it. It's not about the entertainment value at all. There's no, they're not trying to put on a show, So if you're looking for a lot of personality and all that type of stuff, it might not be the show for you.
Right.
If that's all you're looking for.
Yeah.
But from a actual research approach.
Right. If cryptids are your jam.
And a realistic approach to finding a Bigfoot, it's incredible.
Yes.
Because most of them, that's why I don't like them. They're
Yeah.
thinking about the personalities of people and the production value, all that stuff except actually looking for Bigfoot,
Mhm.
you know. And yeah, it's really, really good. And I hope it doesn't fall flat.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
it's going to be what it's going to be. But even if season 6 was it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it.
Yes.
I now, because I've said on a lot of episodes here, I'm on the fence with the whole Bigfoot thing. But I also say I don't take away what people see. Like, if you saw something, you saw something. But this show has definitely made me a believer of the more
There's something.
side. There's something
There is
out
something.
there that walks like a human.
Yep.
That's very big.
Yep. And
And
very hairy.
very hairy and also primitive.
Yep.
But in the same token, it's not just lone ones, like I don't want to spoil the series, but yeah. And to take someone like me that's been pretty skeptic about it and open-minded in that regard, because that's the part I hate about those shows or dislike and get frustrated with is when you hear any kind of noise or anything, they're like, oh, that's a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Oh, the way these branches are leaning, that's a Bigfoot. And it's like, dude, no, I've been out in the woods before. You can fool this with somebody who's never stepped foot in the woods at all. But
if you've spent any
time in the woods, you're an idiot.
That's not what that's not how that goes.
It could be, but you can't just say this is why. It just and that's where a lot of those shows turn me off with that kind of stuff. But this one it's good.
Yes.
And if they're doing a ruse, it's the best ruse ever. From a film perspective.
I believe
which you can't eliminate.
Correct.
I have to be 100% honest and, truly skeptical of stuff because pretty much 99.9% of the stuff that you watch on TV, it's a show.
Yes.
It's just a show.
I believe its actual home is Discovery. And then once Discovery airs the show, it goes out to the streaming services.
I think so. I think that's
so. If you want to watch it in real time, it would be Discovery Plus. And then if you wait until they get through their whole thing, it drops to Max.
Yeah, but Max has all 6 seasons.
All 6 seasons.
So you could cram right through those.
Yep.
And you will.
Oh, you will.
Yeah.
It's definitely,
especially I said,
if you're just making your way into it, it's very binge worthy.
You get through season 1 and it's pretty compelling and you get to learn the characters and all that stuff, the people involved and everything. And then like season 2, in my opinion, really hooks you. Like season 2 really has some like stuff with teeth in it. Yeah. And then from there, it's just like one episode after or one season after another. You're like, holy crap. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
But we're not here for Bigfoot.
We're not here for cryptids or Bigfoot or,
But you can check out our episode on Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am a museum nerd. I love it.
Yeah. No, they're fun.
I love the history. Like how? Why?
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool. So here we are, episode 208, season 5. We're doing the Doomsday cat cult.
Thank you, Opportunist Podcast, because that's where I learned this, and I went, wait, what?
It's no, it's just it's weird. So, we got a lot of stuff from. There's this show series. You can watch this on Max as well, but it's also on pretty much all of the
streaming services.
Streaming services, not on Netflix, but it's on Hulu, YouTube, Max. You got to have the subscription. Same thing with Amazon Prime.
Right.
But basically, it's The Curious Case of is the series.
Yeah, there's multiple episodes, and this one was, I think, the last episode.
And this one was called The Doomsday Cat Cult.
Yep.
So we're going to use the same name.
Yes.
I used that documentary, and I also used a website from the NashvilleScene.com.
Me too.
Oh, okay. And the title of that was called Apocalypse Meow. How a cult that believes cats are divine beings ended up in Tennessee.
Yep.
The interesting part of this group is that they really didn't start in that area, and they didn't start right out of the
cats didn't
gate.
become a thing until way later.
It was later, and so you've got this woman basically who's the centerpiece of this whole movement.
Mhm.
Her Sheryl Ruthven, or known to
Cheryl
some as Cheryl Walker
Yep.
or Cheryl Rose,
Yep.
and was building basically at first glance what would look like just your normal run-of-the-mill revival-based ministry.
Yes.
And it was called Freedom Fire Ministries. And, what was interesting about this whole thing was she wasn't into religion at all.
No.
Like growing up.
No.
And, going through life. And then she gets together with this guy. They end up getting married. And she, from one way or another, they get involved with a church, basically.
It was the Gates of Praise.
Mm-hmm.
It was a small Pentecostal church.
Yeah.
She started attending it somewhere in the 90s.
Yeah.
And this person from the Nashville Scene article, essentially it's this person's experience with her is the basis for this article. And this woman had met her in the late 90s, and it was in Bellingham, Washington. And she was saying that at the time, Sheryl wasn't even like the preacher. There was another preacher at Gates of Praise.
Yeah, she was just
and she
part
just
of the congregation.
She took Sheryl under her wing, if you will.
That's how it starts.
And then Cheryl's like, you know what? I'm going to branch out and do my own church.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how her
so it was
congregation
basically
started.
this, typical charismatic Christian movement focusing on personal deliverance, prophetic insight, the promise of spiritual renewal. You get a lot of people that come in and, this is a breath of fresh air. It's not like your standard stuffy church. It's new, it's different, and all that stuff, and builds this spiritual family, and it feels, alive and more intimate than a traditional church. It's really how 99.9% of these Christian prophetic ministries start and where they go. It really is a record that kind of just like cuts over and over and over again. But she becomes the center of this. She becomes very charismatic. A lot of people start getting drawn to her.
Yeah. So this woman, Michelle Lamphere was her name. She was saying that Sheryl had a gift for prophecy, according to Lamphere and other former followers. She seemed to be able to know exactly what people were going through. When she spoke, she'd go into a kind of trance, as if God's voice spoke through her, according to recordings of her prophecies made by followers. People would arrive early at church just in case Ruthven might have a word for them from God. And I want to stop for a second because in the doc, they talk about how she was able to read a person as soon as she met them.
Yeah.
And that's all she's doing. She's not giving a prophecy.
No.
You and I have it to some degree.
Oh, certainly.
Like when
I'm very careful with it, actually.
Yeah. I wasn't, and I didn't know that I wasn't until I was talking to someone online, someone I'd never, that was one of the perks of the internet. Oh, hey, I can make a friend from somewhere else. And I was chatting with this person, going back and forth, and just based on answers to questions, I was able to determine an awful lot about this other person, apparently so much so that it scared them. And that was the end of my chat.
Well, here's the thing. So I really hate to say this, but there's really no other way to say it. people that are going to these types of churches and congregations are desperate.
Yes.
Generally.
They're searching for something.
Well, not only are they searching for something, but they're searching, I hate to say it, in the worst places. You know, a traditional church isn't doing it for you. So you want to do this new radical type of thing or different. And you got to ask yourself, why are you going after something that kind of different? What, you know, and it's people that are lost, or they want some recognition in their life, or they want to just have some belief that they're doing the right thing, or you know, it's
to belong to something.
To belong to something is the big part of it. You know, there's just people that don't feel like they fit in or belong. And this is where cults just reel these types of people in, because all of a sudden, wow, here's a place where I belong and I have value, you know. But the tough part is if you are clouded in judgment in this process, you're going to give more information than you think you're giving. And this is where people like you and I can extract a lot of things from people, you know, and make it come across that we're prophetic, you know.
Right.
And some people, and this is where I really kind of doing a number of these cults now. I've been doing them for over 2-3 years, something like that. You know.
Long time.
Yeah. I mean, if let's just say we've been doing them for 3 years, because I think the second year we started. Yeah, it's 150 cults we've done, because we've done them every single week. Or no. 12.
One a month.
So it's 12 times 3. So that's 36.
Yeah.
So let's just say 30 to 35 cults we've done. It's a lot. And they
is.
all have this kind of recipe. They really do. And as part of that, I think these leaders, that's what they're doing, but I think they don't know it.
Right.
And they fool themselves into being prophets.
Into thinking that,
I'm watching this in real...
This must be coming from God.
I'm watching this in real time with someone, A, that I know, and B, the other one, I've been telling you, it's this pet project. I'm watching this woman on Instagram, and she's literally turning the corner into this, and she's got a following, and I swear in probably 4 or 5 months, if it gains steam, she's going to convince herself that she's prophetic. And she's just, it's just people know how to talk to her. They're just giving her too much information.
Exactly.
They're giving him too much information. The other person that I actually know.
Yeah.
You know, and he'll walk up and be like, oh yeah, no, I've been told to prophesize and all that. It's like, who's telling you this? You know? And it's like, dude, you know, you can't tell me I don't know religion. I do. Yeah. You know, and I've even been guided by
religion,
the Holy Spirit and the religion, but it's not like this, you know. These people that are blessed in this guidance type of era, it's just follow me, Jesus, or you know, and that's it. But you don't become Jesus. You don't become a prophet. You know, it's a dangerous game, and you could be a person that helps console and guide, but what ultimately happens is these people like to be the center of attention, which is what happened.
That's 100% her jam.
With Sheryl. Oh, yeah. No, you just watch it. And I mean, the amazing part is we were watching the documentary and she's going on. And I turned to you. I was like, I couldn't take 5 minutes of her.
Yeah. Yeah. They share recordings of her preaching.
Yeah, it's not many.
It's not.
They play a few over and over.
And
but.
I understand that we're still just getting like glimpses. Like we're not getting the full picture.
Yeah.
It's like the news, the sound bites that you get on the news where you get a sentence or two.
Yeah.
From.
Yeah. So you don't know if that's the whole
exactly. You
thing.
don't have the context. You don't have anything. But from what they shared, it was nonsensical.
Yeah.
Like, none of it made sense.
It doesn't.
But she puts on a show.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how they do it.
Yeah.
It's charisma.
Exactly. You know. At the end of the day, and shout out to the one guy from British Columbia who attended one service and was like, this is some Jim Jones, Jonestown shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so it starts out as this kind of grassroots
It does.
Pentecostal movement, different, fresh. And, she's gaining these followers, and she's got this just cult of personality, and she starts claiming herself a prophet.
Yes.
The followers start believing it.
Yes.
We're not even into cats yet.
No, but she has them all so convinced that she's a prophet that if they just stick with her, essentially their salvation is secure.
Yeah. So much so that she actually claimed to be a divine Mary Magdalene, a reincarnate of Mary Magdalene, who's going to create this new Eden after the apocalypse.
Poor Mary. She gets reincarnated in so many quote unquote prophets.
Yeah. No, that's
really sorry about that.
Yeah. No, it's and so this is where again, you have people that think they're enriching their lives, and you get someone who's taking this sharp turn now. Because it's not just, and there was people there that were close to her, and they're like, she didn't know the Bible. She didn't read the Bible. Like, her ex-husband.
He's like, she never went to church.
He's like, she never went to church.
She never read the Bible.
She never read the Bible. She never did any of that stuff. And so...
He's like, all of a sudden, she goes to this church, and now she's...
a prophet.
She's in. Yeah.
It's not just in. She's a prophet. And
what... I don't know if you caught it, but when he was talking about it, he was talking about when Sheryl went and she was watching the woman preach. It wasn't what she was saying. It was how captivated everyone else was. That's what Sheryl wanted.
Yeah.
She wanted to be that center of attention and to captivate the room.
And it's amazing because you listen to the people that have left, and they'll talk about experiences with her on how she would bring them in close, bring them in part of her inner circle. And each one missed. I pointed it out to you. The one that played the piano there was one of them.
The musician.
Yeah. But, and she has a pretty good head on her shoulders now.
Yes.
Looking back at it, but she missed the ship on the whole thing. It's like she played piano. Everybody loved it. And then once that happened, she brought her in and had this casual relationship with. I mean, the piano player didn't think it was casual. She thought it was intense, and this is the one, and she's with this prophet.
Yep.
But the thing is no one can take the spotlight up there.
No.
So the moment she saw that person take the spotlight, I have to control this.
Yep.
I have to have a handle on this.
One, associated with it, and two, control it.
Yep. And there was other examples of that where people were brought into the inner circle, and it all had that same recipe. It's like, look, you are a threat of spotlight, and B, she needs to be near that to make herself bigger.
Yes.
It's a social vampire in a way,
So the reason why this cult, I say intrigued, but I don't know if that's the correct word. It was how she preached about her ex-husband and, the father of her 3 children.
Yeah.
And her I don't know if his crime was the fact that he didn't just fawn over her, like he actually moved on and he started a life with someone else. I think that was his crime.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is where I'm getting at. Everybody, we call it the Doomsday Cat Cult, but this was a cult way before the cats.
Correct. It was just a cult.
So she has this church and she meets this guy, and he's married with her as she's going through this process. From the first church that she got involved with, they were married already.
Yeah, they were married with kids.
Yeah, I think they had the one kid at that time, or maybe all 3. I don't know. But, he explains it on the dock, but the fact is, you know, now he's starting to see this get out of control.
Yeah.
He wants to get out.
Yep.
So he gets out.
Yep.
But now that makes her look bad. So what does she do? She gets the whole congregation against him.
Yeah, praying for his death.
Praying literally for his death.
Yes.
In the meantime of all this happening, he's with this other woman.
Yes.
Happy, so she can't have that.
Nope.
You know, like you mentioned.
Yep.
That was definitely, if he was single and like diving down a hole.
Yes.
I don't think she would have gone as aggressive towards that. But I really think at the end of the day, she's someone like all these cult leaders, you can't cross them.
Yes.
If you cross them, they're going to destroy you.
Yes.
You know, and so she convinced the whole entire congregation, which this part from a social like experiment concept scares the living hell out of me because you see it all the time. You see it with political parties. You see it with social groups. You see it all over. If this person doesn't fall in, destroy them.
Yeah.
And the group is convinced by leadership to destroy. And it's like, you know, I've always said, if your idea needs the destruction of someone or to harm someone,
you got a shitty idea.
Your idea sucks.
Yeah. In order for your idea to actually
work.
Yeah.
Effectively work.
Yeah.
You know, it should be voluntary. You know.
Yeah. If your idea holds any water, it should hold water.
Hold water.
You know, it shouldn't be a colander.
Is that another rule?
No, we got time.
I know.
Time's enough.
But this is, you know, I think this was the kind of transition where, you know, I always say, like in life, you have a choice, you have a decision. It's free will. God gives it to you. Whether you believe in it or not, it's true. You have free will. You have a choice. And everything you make is a summation of the choices and also the people that you're around.
Yes.
You know.
Your choices have consequences.
And I think that was her choice at that point.
Yes.
I think she had good intentions, maybe a bit of a bad mind, but the parting with the husband, right at that point, that's your choice. You go down the path of the light or you go down the path of the dark. And she went head first into the dark.
She did.
And she's been there ever since.
Yeah.
You know, as far as everything that I could research and look up and find out about this group, especially with the evidence after this, because then what she did is she actually convinced a guy in the congregation to try to kill him.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is he drives right up,
did.
Had him in the crosshairs.
Yeah. Had the AR-15 in his truck
had the
with
rifle, had the rifle in the
truck.
truck.
Had him sighted in.
And she, when he was like target shooting with this rifle, she latches right onto this. And just from as early as that, you know, can you hit that target? Can you hit that target?
Yep.
And then slowly just gets him into the idea along with the congregation saying, you know, my ex-husband's evil. He needs to get eliminated, blah, blah, blah. Let's pray every day for his death. And they were praying for this guy's death.
What bothered me the most was at the dinner table having his 3 children go around the table and discuss different ways that he could die.
Yeah. This guy's kids.
His children.
Yeah. You know, she's affected.
What ways could we kill your father?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's
Ben?
just,
Joe?
It's incredible, you know.
Susie?
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
So this guy's walking down his driveway. This guy's parked across the street up the road, and he's got him in his crosshairs, and then he can't do it. He said he was touched by God.
He's
not
like,
to do it.
God intervened. He said, and as soon as that happened, I knew she was full of shit, because if this man was so evil and he was supposed to
God wouldn't intervene
to die, why did God just save him?
And this is how.
And he went back and said that to her, and she's like, "You can't be in my church anymore."
No, and then he got in the banished list. You know, and so this is again where, when you make a choice, God's going to give you some outs. He's going to give you some options. But at the end of the day, you got to make the choice. And this whole thing with the ex-husband was her trial.
Yeah.
That was her trial, and she
It
failed.
was also her choice.
No, but that's what I'm
Yep.
getting. It's her trial, and she chose.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was wise or unwise,
Yeah.
I think that's a no-brainer. But the fact is this guy who's sitting at the other end of a gun is seeing how God works. God doesn't work in straight lines.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work on easy things. It's this complicated web of stuff because it has a ripple effect out to things. And here's this guy who literally walks up to her and says, if God wanted me to kill him, which is what you're implying, then why did he intervene? And she could have tried to repent and, correct herself. But no, the problem is with these cults is you got somebody who's a leader and they can't look like they're wrong. This is pride at its greatest execution here, the sin of pride, where she can't get humility to say, I was wrong on this. I've totally misunderstood all of this, and I got my emotions involved and so on and so forth. So then it starts taking a really big turn. Now, the crazy part is, we'll kind of just fast forward a bit, the husband doesn't even know this is a thing until years later.
Yeah.
Years later.
He doesn't learn about it until
the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he and his now wife just they were grateful that he didn't get killed.
Obviously.
But they would later find out it wasn't just him she wanted dead.
Yeah.
She wanted him dead, her dead, and her 3 children.
And her 3 children, because she came with 3 children
from
outside of his.
Yeah, from her first marriage.
She wanted them all killed.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. And this is supposed to be a woman preaching about God. And I don't know.
Who's a prophet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a prophet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God's love.
It must be like long kiss goodnight. Prophets do that. Chefs do that. And so this is where the turn the turn starts. And basically what starts happening is a common case of cults too, is they'll wear out their welcome in a certain area. And usually what it is other people peel off. They start talking negatively about the group. And then the community starts saying, yeah, all right, we got the cult here, blah, blah, blah. So then they go on the run.
Yep.
And that's what she proceeds to do. She goes on the run a number of times. Even today, this thing's still active.
She does in typical cult fashion banish people. If you don't follow her to the letter, then you are out. And she
uses the group
to get
you out.
And she used to have the ministry open so that they could take on new congregants.
Yeah.
She's not doing that anymore.
No. So eventually they needed good press. So what they started to do was run a nonprofit cat shelter. And there was a 2-prong approach with this, because what she was saying was these cats are holy entities. They're holy animals.
They're divine.
And
divine felines.
Divine felines. And so she starts out what's called Eva's Garden. Or
Eva's Eden.
Eva's Eden. And, they describe themselves as this peaceful group devoted to Mother Nature and living in harmony. And they start fostering just dozens of kittens in their homes. And they host these cat adoption events. And they have this air-conditioned mobile cat playground.
Yeah.
They start getting cats like crazy. So now at this point, one thing I forgot to bring up was it wasn't just Protestant level Christianity she was preaching. She was all over the place.
Yeah.
She would go over to New Age, Buddhism and mysticism and New Age.
She was
everything
hodgepodging.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, because she had no deep understanding of any of the practices.
Yeah. Her spiritual
compass.
I'm trying to her spirituality within her was a mud puddle. Like, that's how deep it was. There was there
depth.
was no substance.
Nope.
There was nothing.
And that's why
to
anyone that would drill in,
Yes.
they're out.
Yes.
They're attacking us. And it's just cult behavior left and right. And this is what happens with any kind of cult organization. Their knowledge level is basically inch deep.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you push past that inch to pry and see what's going on, I'm being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
We're having hateful conduct to us.
Right.
And they did this
We're being persecuted
over and over again. We're being persecuted. And so they start going on the run with the cat cult, and the members now are starting to get stressed because they have...
Each member was supposed to have in their home anywhere from 14 to 40 cats at a given time.
Yeah. And
you also had to purchase all of your supplies, kitty litter, food, toys, directly from Sheryl.
Yes.
You couldn't buy, and they all say that it was not cheap.
Yep. No, because all the money's going through her now.
All of the church money goes to her. All of the Eva's Eden's money goes to her.
Stuff. Yeah.
The cat adoption money goes to her. Everything goes to her. And, it's kind of weird that as all this money is going to her, she's getting a whole boatload of plastic surgery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can actually watch her boobs get bigger
and bigger
throughout
like
the documentary.
Every 5 years to a decade.
Yeah.
She gets bigger boobs.
Yep.
They just keep growing. Yeah, it's so what ends up happening on the side of all this, because they the former followers the former members started getting together.
Yes.
And one of them set up a Facebook page trying to expose them as an abusive cult. And that's when things started to really kind of pick up steam, and people were starting to understand that this is a thing and this has been going on. And of course, the Eva's Eden denies all the claims, and they say that the former members are a hate group. Yep. Again, pushing them away, not very churchly, or not very minister-esque,
No. And it should also be noted for those that had the cats in their home, the cats were the priority. You fed them before you fed your family.
Mm-hmm.
You took care of them before you took care of your family.
Yeah. And so there started being some inquiries in the group.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they disappear.
Yep.
Eva's Eden disappeared. A reporter requested an interview with Ruthven and other leaders. The website went down. The Facebook page and the YouTube accounts vanished. The group canceled a planned public cat adoption at a grocery store. And they also filed a criminal complaint with a county sheriff's office against one of the group's critics, accusing of harassment.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it becomes just this real weird thing of spiritual experimentation, charismatic preaching.
Oh, and when
leadership.
they brought the cats in,
And
now you've got
the cat
Egyptology.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the fact I don't, and I still don't understand, and I know I never will, the people who are still in it. Your house smells like cat piss and shit. They're destroying your home, your furniture, because it's even stressful to the cats to have that many cats in one space.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really did care about the cats, you wouldn't have them live in those conditions. You wouldn't put them under that kind of stress. And the fact that they're all still in, you can't just go to Walmart and get kitty litter and cat food. No, you've got to get it from Sheryl.
Mm-hmm.
And, you also have to tithe to the church. Oh, and you also have to pay for the, insert new thing. And the fact that they're all still okay. Yeah, I'm in.
Well, I I hate saying it, but it's true. You only have a certain there's only a certain limited types of people
Mhm.
around, and a lot of them are followers. Just period. They just follow. They
Mhm.
need the follow because they can't bring any direction on their own. They need someone to pull the way. And again, getting into this under the best intentions, it can kind of help. But at the end of the day, I mean, now you have this smorgasbord of stuff. And
Mhm.
so that's interesting too. Oh, I'm learning all of these things. You think you are.
Yeah.
You're not really learning anything. But if you don't know of this stuff, it's all you think you're developing. And so that's where she's springboarding to all this stuff where she'll do a little bit of Christianity, but then, there'll be a little Tai Chi or Buddhist meditation, chakras, healing crystals, Tibetan singing bowls, ancient Egyptian gods like Osiris and Isis, and,
Yeah.
the Greek goddess Athena, and the host of New Age like practices. And yeah, they rename themselves to, it's called the Oneness Foundation, which, I mean, okay. And basically there was like these power slides of her sermon notes. And it just basically talks about powerful karmic moons and references to Yom Kippur and warnings about Judgment Day. Um, you get a group that wants to believe anything, they'll believe in anything. And
But you can't possibly actually be listening to her because you would be picking up on, oh, well, this isn't even about God anymore.
you would like to think, yeah, but people don't, you know. And here's the thing. When you're in these groups, that's all you are is in the group now.
Mm-hmm.
You're not outside. You don't have outside friends. You hang out
Right.
with the congregation. You hang out with the group. You do everything with the group. And, even if you're outside of the group and there's some questions,
Mm-hmm.
you can't bring it up inside the group because you're going to get on the wrong side of the group. And some people, I look at it, you know what I look at this like? I actually just thought of this. There's those people who can't be alone and they need someone in their life and they don't even care who.
Yeah.
They'd have someone abusive.
Yeah.
Because it's actually better in their mind than being alone. And this is the same exact thing. It is the same exact thing. There's a point where they know, this is going, because we've done these where you hear the people like, yeah, at this point, I knew it was going too far, but I couldn't leave.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you have to leave everything.
Yeah.
You've made it your life.
Yeah. So if you leave, you have no life.
Yeah. And I learned this a long time ago when I'd work in corporate offices, and I never understood the person in corporate office that made their job and their
life.
whole atmosphere their life. And I just sit there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, what happens when you lose your job?
Yeah.
And I'd watch people lose their job. They get laid off or whatever, through attrition or whatnot. And I'd see them crying, and it's like, and I'd walk up and, I mean, you know me, I'm like, it's just a job. You can find another. No, it's not just a job. I'm like, what do you mean? And they'd say, this was my life. Like, and I remember telling this one woman, I'm like, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
You need to make your life outside of here.
Yeah. You have to have a life outside of work.
Yeah, because none of these people, well, they're going to stay in touch with me.
No, they won't.
No one's going to stay in touch with you here.
No.
No one is.
This is not your life. This is not your home.
It's not your life anymore. It's gone.
Yeah.
And that's where I watched a lot of people that got laid off or, like walked off a job or whatever. Walked off is different because that's usually hostile.
Yeah.
But like laid off is the real genuine thing where like someone gets let go. It's through attrition, like that department doesn't need to exist anymore, or it's getting merged and they just don't need as many people, or there's a technology solution that kind of cuts down, the resources needed. And I'd watch these people that have worked at a place even just like 2-3 years, as soon as that. And they're just devastated. They're demoralized. And I'd look and I'd be like, well, yeah, no, it's income. I get that. But it's like, okay, you're going to get unemployment. You're going to get, some sort of severance package. You're going to get something, and no, I'm not worried about that. It's just my life, and it just, I was never, me, I'm never that guy. Like, I don't go for drinks after hours, and I don't go, if I join a golf tournament, it's because I want to know the scuttlebug on like a big, like,
project or whatever.
Change in the company that's going,
The only time you ever did anything after hours was if it was a goodbye for somebody who was going to a new job.
To a new job, yeah.
That was the only time you participated.
And I'd send them off, and... Yeah, that was the only time I do that.
Or a bowling league. That was the only other
bowling
outside
league,
thing.
like once, and again, that was just to, honestly, because being in cybersecurity, you get bad press around people.
Yeah.
Because, like, usually when I show up, you fucked up.
Right.
It's usually the deal, and I try to play that out. So, it was more of a goodwill tour.
Right.
To give me some currency back in the office, that I'm not evil Frank and, I'm going to, just screw your life over.
You're not the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, no, exactly. But even that, like, I'd see just the drama going with it, and I'd watch, and like people developing relationships, and they got, like a wife and kids at home, or a husband and kids. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? Go home.
Yeah.
Go home. This isn't going to work. Like, none of this is going to work, So yeah, that's where I look at this is, these are people that make this their lives. Every single member that I've ever looked at from an interview perspective, reading and all that stuff, they made this everything.
Yep.
And you can't.
That speaking to you, Twin Flames universe.
Yeah. Just you make this everything. And
don't ever let someone, i.e. the leader of your church, tell you who you are, what you should do, how you should do it, who you should do it with. God gives you autonomy.
Yeah.
That's your free will.
Yeah.
You get to make those decisions. They don't make that decision for you.
And they can make a recommendation.
Exactly.
But it shouldn't threaten your existence in the church, the whatever group you're in. Like, it shouldn't threaten your existence. You should have the right to explore.
And in Twin Flames universe, it shouldn't threaten your gender.
Well, no, it just like all of these, it threatens everything. Like, you're either in or you're out.
Yeah.
And that's not right.
No, it's not.
You should be able to go to another church. You should be able to go to another group. You should be able to go to another party affiliation or whatever it is on this stuff with cults. You should be able to do those different things. And if you are just like, well, yeah, no, I could never do that because it goes against everything I say. And it's like, listen to yourself just for a second there. Like, that's the pause. You're saying you could never do that. Does that mean you don't believe in it? And it goes against your moral core values? Or are you saying you can't do that because you're going to be expelled from the group you're in?
They don't want you to do that.
Because they don't want you to do that. The latter is worse than the prior. That's, the former, the latter's worse than the former, and it's just, there's a lot of that. And especially like right now, there's a lot of that going around everywhere. And it's like, just get some thought. Get some independence.
You're allowed to think for yourself.
You're allowed to think for yourself. You're allowed to also explore other things to learn, and for example.
You're also allowed to question things.
For the church that we go to, for others that feel like they're in a church that feels like this, the church that we go to, if we're looking for some consolement or some direction and guidance through things, that's what we get. Like our priest will say, you know what? You're right. This is something people struggle with. I see people struggle with it. Like the last example I had in a confession with Father, he said, read this book. This book will be good for you. And it's another old kind of Catholic hand-me-down book of saints and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, read that book. But he didn't tell me this is how I should think, this is
No.
how I should feel, or this is how I should do. No, read this book. God is going to guide you.
Right.
That's the right religious leader to have.
Yes.
God's going to guide you. God's going to.
God will help you.
Yeah, ask God for help. Don't, and the moment you have someone that becomes that centerpiece in it, run. Get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Because there's no good that's going to come around that.
No.
And it's only going to destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. And she was doing just crazy stuff. I mean, you were talking about the Jim Jones thing there. The guy that what he was talking about was
the guy from British Columbia. The first time he went, she had a pitcher of water and a box of salt, and she added the box of salt to the pitcher of water and had everyone come up and drink it as a quote unquote communion.
Yeah.
And he
instantly,
God bless him, he was like, that's exactly what Jim Jones did. He had his entire congregation drinking these things before he gave them the flavor aid.
Testing.
Yeah.
It's testing
it's
and
testing
trialing.
to see. And he said, anyone who is hesitant to consume
you don't belong in the
that
group.
salt water was out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's drinking the Kool-Aid, literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, so, you have this social side, where they become close-knit and they're like family. And those are tough ties to abandon and walk away from. And, people have this horrible, I don't understand the people that'll stay in churches, even if they disagree with like the preacher.
Why are you there?
It's like, why are you there?
Yeah.
I get it. It's not, I just said it's not about the preacher, but the fact is you also have to have somebody that's kind of guiding you.
Right.
In a way.
If you're not getting something, it's called a spiritual practice, not a spiritual perfect.
Yeah.
So if you aren't getting something out of your church, then you need to find a church that actually speaks to you. But it also can't alienate you. That's what I think that's my issue with the non-denominationals and the Protestant and the Pentecostal, because you're literally at the mercy of who the preacher is.
Yeah. They
determine what message gets directed out at the pulpit, where the other religions, they do take readings from the Bible. The other Christian
there's a more
churches.
Structured sense about it.
Yeah.
And, and again, this is where, I think the problem with cults and new religions, to me, in my opinion, there's not really much different with it.
No.
And there are a lot of people who are just along for the ride.
Yes.
And what's incredible is what people will do just to be along for the ride. Giving up your money.
Yeah.
Control over your life.
Yeah.
Or your finances. Or your relationships. Letting these people determine who you can date, who you can't date. And then you have the suicidal groups, which are worse, and that's actually their lives. Do all religious groups turn out to be dangerous? No.
No.
There's a lot of them that have good intentions, but I guarantee this, they can only take you so far.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel empty. Yeah. That I know about, because they don't have a history. They don't have all this stuff figured out. We were talking about that in the men's group like a couple months ago, where we were talking about like, as being a Catholic, like how many people from like Pentecostal groups and things like that, where they would just be like, I'm really struggling with this. And we just casually answer like, yeah, no, we got something for that.
We got a thing for that.
We got a thing for that. It's either,
it's some sort of novena.
It's a book or a novena or a prayer or
Yeah.
whatever. Or it's one of the sacraments, a confession or, something like that. And we were just casually talking about that, like how, like, there was, I think, 15 of us there that day, more than a dozen of us. And basically, like, we were just talking about how that's a lot more prominent and it's prominent amongst all of us. These are guys of different ages, different age groups, different demographics who they hang out with. And there was this commonality with it. And it'll only take you so far. And it just, I've learned through all of these kind of cults, you can't just say people are crazy. You can't say even people are just weird. They just are lost. You just get spiritually lost.
Yeah.
And this is what's, for those that don't believe in religion and all that stuff, at some point, I hate to say it, you're going to be spiritually lost.
That's why there's a whole spirituality movement.
Exactly.
That's why we have the New Age movement. You took religion out of it, but you still were searching for that. Your soul needed to be nourished. So you're like, oh, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual.
I'm spiritual. Or I'm going to chase this club, or I'm going to get into this political affiliation, or I'm going to get into X or Y, and it's like, no, you're substituting that need.
Exactly.
It's a need you have. It's made from the creator of all of this.
Yes.
And whether you like it or not, you're chasing it.
Yes.
It could be through video games, or it could be through anything, but you are chasing that void.
Yeah.
I'm always going to try to promote Catholicism, and, people give it a bad rap, but it's been around since Christ died, because Christ made it. And it's still here. And it's still going to be here. It's going to go on. So this thing, they do the cat rescue business, and, she even taught her followers to become vegans as part of their focus.
Oh, yes.
So now you're being told what you can eat and all that stuff, which, everybody's going to say, well, Frank, you're Catholic. You can't eat meat on Fridays. And it's like, yeah, on Friday. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I can't eat anything at any other time, but then also there's some rules of,
you can't eat an hour before church.
Yeah.
But that's an hour.
That's an hour,
I think I can do that.
And I can eat whatever I want before that hour, And
after that hour.
No, but then, there's the deadly sins, because I'm on the Lent kick right now, but like there's gluttony, and gluttony is real, and it doesn't have to be just food. You can over excess on anything.
Yeah.
And of course, a little bit of things are good, but too much.
Yes.
Can go.
It's just that. Too much.
It's too much. Yeah. So at this point, they've just been traveling, and they're on the run, and, they just, I hear through online, I've been looking, like, they're still around. They're underground.
Aren't they in Kentucky now?
I think they're in Kentucky.
And they're doing like a dog and a cat rescue, because you have to be inclusive.
Well, and I think dogs bring in a hell of a lot more money than cats, because cats are everywhere. But dogs, if they're doing like designer dogs or something like that, there's a lot of money in that.
Well, her whole deal, and I will give her credit in this, she takes the animals that are on the euthanization list.
Yeah, absolutely, yep.
And she actually does help
Brings
nurse
them back.
and get them back up and healthy so that they are ready to be adopted. The problem is that's a lengthy process. And the problem is you're not getting one or two. You're getting like 18 at a time, which is why you're ending up with 40 in a person's house.
No, and you're forcing your congregation to foot the bill on all this.
Exactly.
And if you don't want to foot the bill, or you want to leave,
you can't.
You get banished, or you can't. And meanwhile, she's living a great life.
She's got 3 offshore accounts.
She's got 3 offshore accounts. She's got, I don't know how big her boobs are now, but but basically, she's living again like any other cult life, and a lot of ministries for this deal here. I'm not just going to say cults. These ministries, boy, with these pastors and priests and ministers who are living high on the hog.
Yeah.
The jewelry, the house, just the vehicles and the cars.
Here's the thing, guys. When you give your money to your church, it's supposed to stay in and benefit your church, not your leader, not your pastor, not your prophet. It's supposed to be for the church. That's where they get their tax exemption. if your leader, your pastor, your prophet is taking the money, they need to be paying taxes on that because that's no longer a church.
I'm not even going to get in.
That's a for-profit.
That's too complicated. I'm not even going to get into taxes. Their whole thing of being a leader, every single one of those disciples that followed Christ left everything.
Everything.
They left their homes. They left their families. They left everything. And they lived with the most minimal amount possible.
Yes.
And that's the teachings of Jesus.
Yes.
Jesus himself walked the walk and talked the talk.
He did.
You know, before he got crucified, he spent 40 hours or 40 days fasting in the desert to have the ultimate battle
Satan.
against Satan.
Yep.
You know, and Satan lobbed everything at him. Everything. You can have anything you want. You can be the leader of any land, all the lands, whatever. Nope. No, thank you. I'll pass. Because something better is coming my way that you can't give me. And that was ultimately the statement that he said that just ended it all. You know, you don't have what I'm after. You can't give me what I want.
Give me what I'm. Yep.
You know, and so that bothers me because I'll see a pastor that's got a nice car, you know, or dressed really, really nice, you know, and to me, that's the immediate red flag that
or
you need
$1
to get
million event center that they won't let displaced people into during a time of a natural disaster.
Exactly. No, it's true. You know, and I mean, granted, you know, the Vatican itself.
Talking to you, Joel Osteen.
The Vatican itself is overdone. There's a lot going on over there. But the thing is, all the other churches run on a shoestring budget as far as Catholicism goes. You know, that's why I always got to laugh when people tell me they're like, oh, those Catholics are loaded with money. It's like, not my church.
No. The Vatican.
The Vatican has
money.
The
Vatican is loaded with money.
Yeah. You know, and, you know, is there some contentious statements to say with that? Sure. You know, but not all systems are perfect.
Well,
and
how can you go after the Vatican for having money and not go after the mega churches for their money?
No, exactly. I think there's bigger fish to fry outside.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen, I think it's happening now, to be honest with you. It's going to happen even more as it goes on. I think, you know, like I heard a popular podcaster who's got a pretty popular show. And he said, you know, I went after the Catholic Church a lot, and I'm realizing that they're not by any means the worst. You know, like they're actually really low on the list of problems, quote unquote.
Yeah.
You know, and they were even just talking about the pedophilia, which none of it's good. You know, I mean, it's not a shred of it, but
let's not pretend for a moment that it happens just in the Catholic Church.
Well, no, and that's the thing is the media did a fantastic job, and whoever was pumping the media to kill the Catholic Church, they did a great job in putting it in everybody's minds that the Catholics were the worst of it in the world.
Yeah.
You know, but now, thanks to the internet, thanks to podcasts and people having the ability to speak on multiple different platforms and get their voice out, now you're finding out more than anything, the public school system is worse.
Yeah.
And not just by a little, a lot.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yes.
You know, and so now you're looking at these other churches and other religions and all this stuff. And, you know, now the Catholic Church doesn't look that bad. You know, not saying it's great in this area because none of it's great.
No.
And it all has to be worked on. And you know what? You talk to a lot of...
You don't get to be pissed at the Catholic Church and not be pissed at school.
Yeah, don't act like the Catholic Church owns this and no one else does.
Correct.
Because there's a lot of people who think that.
Yes.
Especially with the public school system.
Yes.
There was a lot of people that I worked with in the past, and they were like, geez, I'd never bring my kid to church. And I was like, why? And they're, you know, well, you know, the whole kid thing. And I was just like, did you take him to a public school? And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, dude, you need to get your numbers straight.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not just by like a little edge. It's a massive amount, you know.
Your kids
have a higher risk. And I'm not talking by like 5%, 10%, 20%. I'm talking over 60% more of a chance to have some
thing,
sexual situation happen to them.
Yep.
You know, it's crazy. And now it's starting to come out. The news is starting. It's
Mhm.
on social media, all
Mhm.
these teachers. And the crazy part is, too, they're not even men. It's women.
Yeah.
You know, I just read this last one where this woman was literally sleeping with like 6 to 7 different 13-year-old or less students, male students. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. You know, and it's the most unreported topic
Mhm.
talked about. And I always say it, I said it during human trafficking. I'll say it all the time. They don't want you talking about this because this is the most unifying thing that everyone could get behind.
Yes. I think we can all agree that we
Everybody
don't want
would
children
unify on this.
to be assaulted.
Yes, everybody would. And right now, the system doesn't want that. The system wants us, you know,
Bitching about
screaming and
shit
hollering.
and arguing with each other
Yeah,
than
about
dealing
cars.
with it.
You know,
Mhm.
cars is the shiny thing now. And it'll be something else after.
Yeah.
You know.
Whatever.
But yeah, so they're still going. They're underground, which, you know, underground's better than hugely popular. But yeah, a doomsday cat cult. Just when you think
You're welcome.
you've seen them all,
Yeah.
you know, part of your birthday month.
Yep.
So what do we got next week for your birthday month?
The Green Children.
The Green Children.
Yes.
What's that all about?
Well, they're children and they're green.
Yeah, kind of like the Black-Eyed Children.
No.
Worse?
No, they're literally, their skin is green.
Green kids.
Green children. Technically, they're the green children of Woolpit or Wolf Pit.
Really?
Yes. They were in the UK.
Ah.
It was a brother and a sister.
Hmm.
Yep.
Woolpit.
Yep. WOOLPIT.
Oh, this is an old story.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
I like this.
Yeah.
I'm just reading like the first beginning of this, and
Mhm.
I'm liking this already.
Mhm.
Where'd you find this one? A podcast?
Actually, no. It was something that I saw on, I want to say, the History Channel
Hmm.
or Unsolved Mysteries a million years ago.
Yeah.
And then I think it was on Lore podcast where I was like, that's that show I watched. And I was like, I know what he's talking about.
Oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's another one I didn't know.
Yeah.
You've been pulling quite a few of these.
I love when
Yeah.
I pull up something and you're like, what?
I know, because that's how it's gonna go all week. I'm gonna be like, holy shit. That was definitely, without a doubt, I think the last one I was totally blown away by that we've done this year was, without a doubt, it was the Love Is One. That I was just blown away by. Doing all the research for that and looking at all that. And then the documentary, like, I swear, if you haven't watched that documentary, you have to watch it.
You have to.
Because right from the beginning, you're like, oh, okay. And I love the way they did it because, like, you're going through it and you're looking and you're like, holy shit, this is fucked up. And what's more fucked up is we're not even to the end yet because you know where the end goes. And you're like, oh my God. Like, yeah, that whoever did that documentary was a genius.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Just an absolute genius. Yeah. I absolutely incredible. All the props in the world. But yeah, all right. So we're doing that. I got that to look forward to this week.
You do. You're welcome.
On all the things I'm doing.
Yeah.
I could slide that in.
Yeah.
I'll be probably looking at that stuff in the conference, and that's when this crap starts. People are like, oh, what are you reading?
The Green Children of Woolpit.
The Green Children of Woolpit.
They're going to be like, excuse me, what?
Excuse me, what? I'll be like, yeah, it's for our podcast.
Did I stutter? The green, like, you wouldn't like him when he's angry, green.
And then it's, I'm the worst salesperson for our podcast. I don't know how it's doing as good as it is because, like, I'm not helping. I know I'm not.
Yeah.
People are, oh, you got a podcast? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Sure do.
It's a horror podcast. It's real niche. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a good chance you're not going to like it. That's exactly what I say.
I can confirm.
Yeah.
Have been standing beside
I'm
you
the
when you've said
worst
it.
salesperson for our podcast.
And I just look at you and I'm like, I could be crushing this right now.
I know. I'm just waiting for you to just like put your hand up and like cover my mouth and just like
Vampires, ghosts,
witches,
goblins, cryptids. Check.
No. And actually, with that being said, we have to thank you all again because I mean, this is just incredible.
Because we know it's not Frank.
We know it's not me. I am definitely not helping things. I know I'm pushing more away than
you're bringing in.
But somehow or some way, we're 19th on the top.
The Feedspot.
The Feedspot top 100 best or the 100 best horror podcasts. We're 19th.
Nice.
Yeah. Jeez, if I were to just shut up, we'd probably be on the one best horror podcast show. Yeah. I don't know. I hope you stick with me.
Well, I have to. We're in this till death. So.
Yeah, after the vows.
Yeah.
I pretty much sealed the deal.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
I reeled you in.
Did you though?
I trapped you. I trapped you with Halloween things and
free Halloween stuff.
And wax melters.
Listen, I brought you to Halloween Town.
Yeah.
There's so many trick-or-treaters.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm in.
Yeah. All right. Well, no, thank you so much because I see that stuff and, each month we do better than the previous year's month.
Which is our goal.
It's always been this kind of humble goal of ours where we're just like, if we do better than...
At least the same.
If we do better than March last year, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've been doing that every year since the start.
Nice.
For every month, for the most part. There's been a couple that were closer or a negative, but most of it has been positive in a uptick, and it just keeps rising. So it'll be interested to see where it ends up because we still got a lot of episodes left.
We do.
Yeah. And just really humbled and just very appreciative of it, because we always say if we're the only two left, we're still doing it.
Yeah.
So with my bad marketing and everything, I'm just impressed. So
yes.
Thank you so much. With that being said, rule number 1.
No Ouija boards.
Number 2.
No dolls.
3.
No capes.
No. Number 4.
No blood rituals.
Yeah. We'll get to that later on the tour. Just to rehash that.
Yeah. Yep.
5.
No cults, satanic or otherwise.
Yeah.
Or if somebody tells you have to foster 40 cats, no.
On your own dime.
Yeah. And you got to pay me for all the stuff they need.
To keep the collective going. Yeah.
No.
Don't do it. It's bad.
Exactly.
6.
No apathy. You need to help enact change in this world. Start at the local level. That's where change starts.
Yeah. Start at your house.
Exactly.
Make your bed.
Yeah.
Clean your house. Say hi to your brother and sister and be nice to them.
Yeah.
Help your parents if you're younger. I don't think we have young people listening to this.
Clean your room.
Yeah.
Do your dishes.
You'd be surprised.
Fold your clothes. Put them away.
You'd be surprised how much that changes your life.
Yes. Put your dirty clothes in the hamper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't leave the toothpaste in the bowl of the sink. Clean out the sink when you're done.
Clean some things.
Yeah.
Next rule.
Don't engage with black identities.
Yeah, we already talked about those a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If you are more curious about that, we have an episode on it.
Sure do.
Yep.
Go
to ohthehorror.com, search bar, Black Eyed Children, bam.
Bam. Biggity bam.
Yep.
Boom.
Easily. Next rule.
Just listen.
Yeah. And
No pedophiles.
Yes.
I think this is becoming... I feel as though we bring it up almost every episode, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
No.
I think we can all agree.
I was thinking of doing an episode called Bad Teachers and just going through just the list of just things, you know. And the crazy part is it's not just like one part of the country.
Yeah, no, it's all over.
It's all over the place. Yeah. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last but not least.
If you have something to do it.
And with that being said, have a great day, a lovely week.
And make good choices.
Excellent.